Sonya on LinkedIn had a question. She says, what about a $257,000 VA loan that's 30 years and at 2.25%?
Okay, so we're just going to go over some ideas here. All right. Now, one of these things that we've got $257,000 here at 2.225%. Do you know how many people have come to me and said, Don, why even focus on this when the interest rate is so doggone low? And I had this question last night. Somebody challenged us, why should we pay off a loan that is 2.225% when I could take that same money and invest it in some sort of vehicle that's going to make our clients 8, 9, 10, 12% in their investments? Why pay off a loan that's only costing us 2.225? It's a very good question. All right. So why pay attention to this? All right. So number one, before we even get into this, every client we talk to that has money going into investments already, that's working with an investment counselor, we don't touch a dime of that money that's going into investments, not a dime of it. It continues to go to the investment so that can make compound interest on that money. Are you hearing me? Okay. Let's take a look at this loan and see what's really going on here. On 257,000 at 2.225, here's the amount of interest that the bank wants: $95,476. Okay, that's not 2%. That's not 2.225. That's 37% of what they borrowed that they must pay in interest if they don't pay attention to this loan. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. Okay, in the first year on this loan, they're going to pay it down by $6,092.85. And the interest cost on that is $5,656.35. So here's my thing. When we're trying to figure out profit, what we're taking is, what are we getting for that money? What are we getting? We're getting equity here. When we're trying to figure out equity, we're taking and figuring out, what does it cost us to get the equity? So now I've got equity. Here's how much I owe on the house. But what we're not doing is subtracting the interest cost from the equity received. Oh my gosh, we're missing an opportunity here. So we subtract the $5,656 from the $6,000, we end up, oh, it's not $6,000 in equity after all, if I take a look at the amount of interest that I have to pay to get it. All right. So here's what we're taking a look at, folks. When it comes to interest cost, don't underestimate interest cost just because you have a low interest rate. A low interest rate does not mean a low interest cost. It's still too much money. So what we need to compare, and this is the problem when you're comparing interest rates like that. Why pay off a 2% loan when I can make 10% in the market or whatever? Well, you're comparing an amortized loan with compound interest. Amortized interest and compound interest. That's apples and oranges. So when you compare amortized interest against compound interest, here's what I want to do. I want to make sure that I have the right amount of my money that's going to an investment so that we can make that money. I want to take what's left over and strategically save money in interest on this loan. Instead of paying the bank $95,000 to acquire this property. So here is the true cost on this loan. It's $257,000 plus the $95,000. Here's the true cost, $352,000. So you just signed up to pay $352,000 for a property in a $257,000 neighborhood. That's what you've just done. So what we can do is see what we can do to cut our costs. Once the contract is struck, you can't do much about what you borrowed, but you can do something about what it costs to manage what you borrowed. What if we could acquire the same property for not $95,000 in interest, but what if we could acquire the same property for $30,000 in interest or less? Then now we can take the 60 grand that we didn't have to pay and invest that in something else. Listen, folks, we have been sold a bill of goods when it comes to understanding how amortization works and how it's siphoning off our wealth. You can cut those interest costs by 75%, and you don't have to change your budget. You don't have to refi, and you don't have to sacrifice lifestyle, meaning you don't have to eat beans and rice every day. You don't have to eat ramen noodles every day. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car. You don't have to do your own hair, your own nails. You don't have to stay home and not go on vacation. You don't have to sell pizza at night to take that extra money and throw all of that money at the loan. Folks, you can live well and only pay $30,000 in interest on this loan.
That's amazing.
Cut out all that extra interest, live well, create memories with your family, because we're going to budget your fund money right into the program. You tell us how much you want to spend on your fund. We plug it in, and then we're going to take what's ever left over and kill interest with it. Let me give you one example of how small amounts of money kill interest. I had a client call me up from California. He said, Don, by following your program, we're tracking how much we're spending on our grocery budget. This month, we spent our entire budget except for $4.69. The P.I.L.L Method program asked us to put the $4.69 in savings to be used later to eliminate interest. When we put the $4.69 in savings, the program recalculated our interest savings and told us we're going to save now an additional $35 in interest for that $4.69. Folks, if you know that your $4.69 left over from your food budget is going to save you $35 in interest you don't have to pay, isn't that valuable? Or you can buy a burger and fries with that money.
Extremely valuable. Extremely valuable.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L Method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.